I'm out here in the Canadian Rockies for a backpacking trip like I have never done before. I am going to be hiking to an extremely beautiful lake, camping with some brand new gear, and then pack rafting back to the trailhead on a mountain river that parallels the trail I came in on. But there will be a bunch of new challenges along the way that I will need to overcome, carrying a 40-pound pack along an unmaintained trail, testing new gear with some potential weather rolling in, and navigating a wild mountain river. Two of the new pieces of gear that I'm testing out on this trip are, one, the Seek Outside Divide 4800 pack, and then these amphibious shoes from Astral. Like I said, with all the gear on and inside my pack, it weighs 40 pounds, and I'm really curious to see how the Seek Outside pack handles that weight, because they're advertised as being able to carry a ton of weight very comfortably, and I'm hoping it does that. And I'm really curious to see how my shoe handles all that weight, because they're not necessarily a backpacking specific shoe, and they may struggle with this much weight. Let's hit the trail and we'll see how everything does carrying all this weight. We hit a spot where we get a very good vantage point on what this trip entails. I'm gonna be following the right shore of this river until I hit the base of those mountain slopes in the distance, where there's a mountain lake that I'm gonna be camping at tonight. And then tomorrow morning, I'll inflate my pack raft, pack up, and then float down this river back to the trailhead. And that's one of the really cool things about this trip. I'm turning what is essentially an out and back trip into a loop, where tomorrow I'm gonna have new terrain, new scenery, and new challenges. I've been looking to get into pack rafting for a very long time. I was an intense whitewater kayaker for about 15 years and have been a pretty intense backpacker for another 15 years. So it's really cool to be able to combine the two with pack rafting. The reason I chose now to get into pack rafting is the technology has made leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, and the boats are really capable and really cool. You'll see tomorrow, once I blow it up, all the cool things that are involved with it and why it makes it more like taking a kayak down a river than a little dinghy where you kind of just hope for the best. If you had asked me 25 years ago if this is a trip that I'd be doing in this kind of place, I would have never believed you, but here I am, and it's pretty darn cool. And the pack is carrying the weight really well. My feet feel great. Another 8 kilometers to go and we'll make it to camp, and I'll check in and let you know how the trail was and what we got going on at camp with regards to a couple more pieces of gear that I'm testing out on this trip. It was just yesterday that I was talking to someone from Parks Canada who said that this trail hadn't seen maintenance in a really long time, but someone must have come in yesterday or this morning and done some trail maintenance, because this is fresh and really welcome. When it rains, it pours. It just started raining a little bit, slowly picking up. Hopefully it just stays to a nice drizzle. I don't have to put my raincoat on. The other thing I encountered was this log I have to step over. Luckily, there wasn't a ton of this on the trail, but at the end of the day, even one, not my favorite. You never know what the weather's gonna do in the mountains, and I'm right at the edge of a big weather system that's gonna roll in and bring over 100 millimeters of rain. So if that came in a little bit early, then I could be in for a very interesting day and night. Not only is the rain gonna affect how easy it is to camp and everything like that, but it might affect water levels in the river tomorrow. So we'll have to keep an eye on things. It just started raining a little bit harder. I'm almost at camp, but I'm gonna throw my rain jacket on just so I avoid getting a chill potentially. Let's get to camp. Made it to the lake. We can see that it doesn't look like the weather's gonna be letting up anytime soon. So time to get camp set up. I have a tent that should deal with the rain pretty well. It's actually a new tent for me, and then the other new item that I'm testing at camp is a sleeping pad that you guys have been asking me about over and over again, so I'm finally excited to get it out on trail and test it out. All right, let's go find a place to camp. It's actually quite windy down by the lake and it's picking up, so I think I'm gonna camp out in the woods a little bit more. This spot looks semi-flat, good drainage at least, so I'll set up here and I'll take you on a tour of some of the gear that I brought with me, including those two new items that I'm testing out. I found a little bit of shelter under this tree, so let's wrap up my thoughts on the pack and the shoes. The pack carried weight phenomenally, like I expected. Seek Outside has a great reputation for how their packs carry weight, and the big reason for that is the fact that they have a really big, chunky hip belt and then big aluminum stays for a really solid frame. You also have an adjustable torso on here, so you really dial the fit in well, and then load lifters in order to help transfer the weight onto your hips. The shoes did great. They're very comfortable, no blisters or anything like that after about 10 kilometers of hiking. I do wish there's a bit more padding in them. My feet are starting to feel a little bit fatigued after carrying this much weight, but I think that's the trade-off to have a shoe that's gonna be really good both in the water and on land. The weather turned pretty quickly. Got some nice views of the lake, and in classic Justin fashion, I decided to switch camp spots. I wanted to get down closer to the lake and get some of those views. So I'm set up right here. The tent that I'm using on this trip is version 3 of the Durston X-Mid 2. And there's some really cool updates that happened with this version. The biggest update is the material that the tent's made of. It's now made of a 15 denier silicone coated polyester, and it makes it a lot lighter than the previous versions. It now weighs 875 grams on my scale, which is crazy for a roomy 2-person tent. Another big benefit is that the tents now have magnetic doors basically everywhere. So you got a magnetic door on the outside here and the magnetic doors for the inside. And that's way nicer than the little toggles and ties that were on previous versions. The price also came down a little bit. I think it's only $290 for this tent now, which is kind of insane for a tent that weighs so little and performs so well. The sleeping pad that I'm testing out on this trip is the Nortent Torv 7. Like I said, you guys have been asking me about this for a very long time because of a few different reasons. First of all, it has a very high advertised R value, so it should sleep very warm. They advertise it as a winter sleeping pad. It also has a really interesting baffling system. So they basically took the baffling system that Nemo has, where it's like a semi-dimpled baffling system, and then made it vertical. So it has the potential to sleep very comfortably. It also uses a 3D construction, so it has sidewalls similar to the Thermarest Neoloft, which should help with edge support, stability, and potentially overall comfort. The two main things that I want to test on this trip, and I'll be able to tell you in the morning what the results are, is how comfortable it is, and then how warm does it sleep. For dinner, I'm having this Alpenair grilled chicken quattro formaggi pasta. Should be pretty good, and you can't really beat these views for a dinner time location. This is pretty amazing. I'm glad the rain ended up going away. I didn't bring the most lightweight gear between using a 2-person tent, my sleeping pad, even my pillow that I brought, and then my cook kit. I'm carrying a lot more weight than I probably need to, but I'm gonna be comfortable, and I'm kind of learning some good lessons on this trip about what to bring and what not to bring for pack rafting. For future trips and for serious pack rafting missions, I'm definitely going to be prioritizing weight and bulk quite a bit more. And that's where the sponsor of today's video, Garage Grown Gear, comes into play. They're the best one-stop shop for ultralight backpacking gear that makes having to carry the extra weight of the pack rafting gear a little bit more bearable. They have everything from the lightest and one of my personal favorite tents ever made, extremely lightweight cookware, and the best stock of Alpha Direct fleece. Alpha Direct provides some of the best warmth for its weight and can still insulate decently when damp or a little bit wet, so it's great for pack rafting. Go check out Garage Grown Gear and everything they have to offer down at the links in the video description. They even have some pack rafting gear. It's more geared towards putzing around on an alpine lake like what I'm sitting at right now, but really cool that they have it. I'm gonna enjoy some snacks by the lake and then probably get to bed early. Tomorrow morning, I'll let you know if I have any additional thoughts about the X-Mid, as well as how the sleeping pad performed from a warmth and comfort standpoint. And then what I'm really excited to share with you guys is not only the experience of pack rafting down the river, but the technology that went into the raft that I have. Because there's stuff that you guys have probably never seen before or never even thought could be possible when it comes to a boat that only weighs 6.5 pounds and can go down class 2, class 3 whitewater. Good night, and we'll see you guys in the morning.
Good morning. Temperatures last night got down to -5 degrees Celsius last night, but I slept quite warm. I was using this Wearita quilt from Nevgear as my top insulation. It has a comfort rating of -2, limit rating of -7, and I wasn't feeling any cold at all coming from my top. And then the sleeping pad slept quite warm as well. I didn't feel any heat loss down to the ground, which was really nice to see because lately I've been testing sleeping pads with really high R values, yet they haven't been able to get down below freezing. So having a pad with a high R value that was able to get down to -5 was quite refreshing. The pad was also quite comfortable, not as comfortable as some of the really thick, stretchy pads that I've been testing lately, but definitely comfortable enough. I didn't have my arm going numb or falling asleep, and I didn't really toss and turn that much over the course of the night. So the semi-dimpled vertical baffles definitely doing their job, keeping me comfortable, and yeah, I think so far I'm pretty impressed with the Torv 7. For clothing, I was just wearing Alpha Direct pants, Alpha Direct sweater, nothing on my feet, and then this toque, and then a buff. Beautiful morning here at the lake, but last night it rained pretty much the entire night. I went to bed at around 7:30 when it started raining, and then it rained until just before I woke up at around 5:30, 6 a.m. The tent did a really good job, like I said, no sagging or stretching of the material, which is really, really nice, especially for a double wall tent. You're not having the outer fly kind of collapse in on the inner and then end up making it a single wall tent essentially anyways. The bathtub floor stayed dry, although I did get a little bit of splash up coming onto the mesh, but nothing that got into the tent. If you are dealing with a lot of rain quite often, then it might be worth getting the solid inner, but for me, this tent did really well in the rain. Again, for me, I've had the version 1 out in the rain before, and it did very well, so I'm not surprised. I'm gonna have some breakfast, have a poo, pack up, and then we'll hike to the put-in at the river where we're gonna be paddling down for the rest of the day, and I'm super excited. I don't think I've been this excited for a backpacking related thing in a really long time, and that's saying a lot because I get really excited about backpacking. I love it, but being able to float down a river through the mountains here, I think it's gonna be a pretty special day. This is gonna be great. It's gonna be a wild day with insane views and cool gear. What more could you want? We're at the river, and this looks like a pretty good place to put in. I could have put in at the lake and ran some pretty gnarly rapids, but that's not something I'm gonna do by myself, and I'd probably wanna scout it a bit more. There definitely was some class 3, maybe even class 4 moves in there, some wood, and just not a place I wanna be by myself. But this looks awesome. I'm gonna get my boat set up right here, get it inflated, but first I have to load all of my gear inside of it. You guys have probably seen pack rafting trips where people strap their gear and their pack to the front of the boat, but the technology's evolved and we have a system that's way, way better. It's called a tie zip, and basically what it allows you to do is open up the inside of your pack raft with this waterproof zipper and then put your gear inside of the boat. And this has 2 big benefits. The first one being that if you dump, you're not potentially gonna be losing your pack off the front of the boat. Second, it makes the boat a lot more stable because your center of gravity is a bit lower. In order to store my gear inside the boat, I don't just start stuffing it in there. I use these tubular dry bags that clip into the boat. So I'm gonna unload all the gear from inside my pack into these, and then I'm gonna take my pack apart because the frame is collapsible on this pack, put that in a dry bag, and then load all that into the boat. I'm also gonna collapse down my trekking poles and put them inside my pack before I put my pack inside the dry bag, just so that there's a little bit of extra protection from them puncturing my boat. One of the things I wanted to do when I was loading these up is make sure the weight was as even as possible, and I think I did a pretty good job here. So that'll help me be a little bit more stable as I'm paddling. Slide each of these through the zipper into the boat, and we'll be pretty much loaded up. And now it's time to inflate the boat. There's a valve on the stern here, and you inflate the boat very similar to how you would a sleeping pad. You can use a pump if you have an adapter, or you can just use this giant inflation bag, takes a few pumps, and then you're good to go. I'm also using a bow bag on this trip, which is just a storage spot for anything that you need throughout the day. It's a 2-part system. There's this over bag with a mesh bottom, so water drains out of it. Inside there I have my water, bear spray, water filter, things like that. And then I have a dry bag inside of that for my essential items that I don't want to get wet. Before we launch, let's do a quick tour of the pack raft and go over some of the technologies that make this a really capable boat. Other than the bow bag and the tie zip for storage, the other major technological innovations that have happened have to do with the outfitting of the boat. So this boat has outfitting that's very similar to a hard-sided whitewater kayak. You have a full back band that can cinch up to really lock you in the boat. You have a seat, you have a footrest on the front so that you can really kind of leverage your body and the boat as you're going down the river. The other major thing are these thigh straps, which you put your knees in, and it allows you to shift your weight really effectively
These are on whitewater kayaks, and it's a really big deal if you're going down some more extreme whitewater, and it's one of the key items that allows you to actually roll a pack raft. And I've had this out without weight in it so far, but I've had it out and I've been able to roll it no problem. It actually rolled a lot easier than I thought. There's also a plastic tube that inserts into this kind of cockpit area, which allows you to put a skirt on and keeps water from getting inside the boat, which is really nice for staying warm, but also so that you don't flood if you're going through some bigger whitewater. As you can see, this is a very capable boat, very cool technologies. Let's get in the boat, start heading downstream, see what sort of river we have in store for us, as well as talk a little bit more about the capabilities of the boat and some of the safety items that I've brought with me so that I'm staying safe on this trip. All right, let's go. Woohoo! This is amazing. As soon as you get on the river, the valley just opens up. You get phenomenal views everywhere. This is way better than heading back to the car on the same trail that I came in on. That was essentially a green tunnel, just forest the entire way with not many views. Woo! Ha ha ha! Woo! This is awesome. It is a little bit cold though, so I'm probably gonna pop out on a shoal when I have the chance, put on my rain jacket, and then some neoprene gloves that I brought with me as well. I got my rain jacket on, and let's go over some safety aspects now, because water brings some new elements to the table. First of all, I do have my inReach with me, and I am checking in with Steffi Poo back at home. But an important aspect of being on water is keeping your inReach with you, because if I had my inReach inside my bow bag, I lost my boat, I'm kind of pooched. So I keep my inReach just in my life PFD pocket right there, so I always have it with me. That's another aspect of this trip. I do have a PFD, and I know some people, if the water isn't moving too much, they might not bring a PFD with them, or they might use an inflatable one. I think I'd probably feel okay about an inflatable PFD on this river, but I don't have one right now, so I'm just using my good old-fashioned foam one. Something else people might not bring is a helmet, but personally, that's the scariest thing for me, is I get knocked out of my boat, or I just flip weirdly, knock my head, go unconscious, and then I'm drowning. I don't have anyone around to flip me over and give me CPR if I'm unconscious. The big reason people don't bring helmets with them is due to the weight, but this one I have right here is whitewater certified and only weighs 170 grams. So other than the bulk factor, it seemed kind of silly to me to not bring it with me on this trip. Other than that, it's just about making good decisions. You can see down the river here, it's quite braided. So I'm gonna have a lot of decision making to make, whether to go down one channel or another channel. I don't want to be getting hung up in wood or on shoals. So I'm gonna be trying to stay to the deep water, follow the moving water, and make good decisions. If I run into a situation where I'm a little bit unsure about what I'm getting into, then at that point, I'll just get on my boat, scout it, and if I need to, then I'll walk around whatever the hazard is. But check out where I am. Check out these views. This is pretty insane. Like I said, very braided. I think I want to get further right if I can. This river is moving, but not really any whitewater to speak of. It's pretty tame, which is nice, especially being alone out here. I didn't want to get into anything super technical. And it really highlights that if you don't have a lot of paddling experience, if you haven't kayaked much or been on rivers much, then you could go pick up a pack raft and get a friend. Definitely don't do this kind of trip alone if you don't have any experience. And then come down a river like this. You wouldn't even need as technical a boat as I have on this trip. You'd get something that weighs 2, 3, 4 pounds, and you'd probably be fine coming down something like this. And I think it's really cool that we're at a place where almost anyone can try pack rafting, get into it, and go on trips that are gonna probably blow your mind. So there's a strain or a tree that's fallen down or gotten caught right there. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. That is what kills people, because you get caught on that and it's no bueno. This right here is the ridge that we got that initial view of the river from. So we made really good time getting down here, and I was not moving, I was not in a rush, so I wasn't moving super quickly. There's only a little bit of river left, and then we'll pack up the boat and hike the 1 kilometer back to the car. I think I'm gonna try and take out here. I missed the spot where I wanted to just because there's no way to get off the river. But if I get off right here, there's a lookout right there, then I can walk up to my car, just up the highway a little bit. We'll do that. We'll pack up and get packing. Done rafting. All packed up. Time to hike the last little bit back to my car. That was an amazing trip. I just scratched the surface when it came to what you can do with pack rafting, and I had a blast. So I can't wait to explore more rivers here in the Canadian Rockies, get down into Utah, Arizona. I think I'm really gonna enjoy this. I have a bit of a bushwhack to take me to a trail that'll take me back to my car. But if you're interested in any of the gear that I used on this trip, I'll have my full Pack Wizard gear list linked down below, so you guys can go check that out. And if you're interested in a review of the Alpaca Refuge pack raft that I used on this trip, I'll have it linked right up there. You guys can go check it out. I go over in a lot more detail all the technologies and capabilities of this pack raft and pack rafts in general.